Hi there, welcome to Inktober, and I'm skipping out a couple of days. I will catch up on those. I've got them already drawn out and stuck to a glass board, ready to go. But I thought I would catch up. So, on my board here, you can see yesterday's prompt, which is frail. And to its right, which is off screen at the moment, I have today's prompt, which is swing, and I'm hoping to get them both done today, so I'm an extra day ahead. All right, so I'm just going to do the usual sound checks. If you can just bear with me a moment. This one's working. That one's working, and I just need to turn up my volume and basically get this up. Brilliant. Yeah, it's all done. Good. One microphone on. Good. Excellent. Okay. I can see your comments, by the way, so please chat to me if you're on board. If you're watching, say hi. Okay, so why have I got a mouse on the board for frail? You might think it's because a mouse is frail because it's quite small compared to us, and that is true. So that is one link for sure. But the main link I've made, excuse me squeaking, just getting comfortable. The main link I have made is with research studies on the frailty of the human condition, aging. It is well known as, I think it's called the frail study, frail research, but it's all conducted on mice. And it's quite well-known research on mice, but mice are used and abused far too much. And that's why this mouse is on my board. Mice are the most tested on animal out of anything. The numbers are astounding. They just get used and abused so often. But mice are social creatures. Excuse me a minute, I've just got to move my board across. So mice are social creatures, and they have a friend system. So they enjoy their family. They enjoy their friends, and I think they've got quite good intelligence. You can have a pet mouse and it will know its own name. They're lovely little creatures, according to my cat. They're quite tasty too. That's not so good. Anyway, so I've basically set my desk up differently, and I now need to move it. So I hope you just bear with me a minute while I do that, because I can't work as is because I can't reach. I can't reach things from here. So please bear with me. I have not set this up well. There we go. Apologies for that. There we go, all back. Great. Hi Jade. Sorry about that. I was just too far away from my palette. This thing you can see here, by the way, is a sticky mesh thing, which just helps to hold everything in place without it moving around. It's just human people that move things around, like me. Okay, so that's a bit of a disjointed intro, sorry about that. Okay, day 7, I believe. No, it's day 8. Day 8, fragile. A bit about the materials. Moulin du Roi watercolour paper. Beautiful paper, I love it. I have soaked it and I have prepped it by, while it's still wet, putting on framer's tape, which has a water-soluble glue, and that holds it very nicely. It's working quite well. I have Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay Indian ink, and I have 2 jam jars of water. This one is for the main rinse. This one is for a second rinse and giving me clean water. That's about it. I've got brushes. I'm using the same 3 brushes as I was using yesterday. I've got a number 10 Royal Soft Grip SG 250. I have a Billy Shoal number 4 and a number 2. These are watercolour brushes, but they lend themselves pretty well to inked. So like yesterday, I've got a half and half. I'm going to do the grey side first, the black side first, and then I'm going to do the coloured side, but I will intermingle between the two. Right, I just need to adjust that a minute. Great, there we go. So I'm going to bring in this little extra pot here. I'm going to put my black in there because I keep cleaning this out, and it means I can pop some cling film on top and have this as my main black wash. So somewhere here I have a black spray bottle. There it is. And I'm just going to put a nice weak mixture into there. So my stronger black mixes I'm going to put in here, but for now I'm just going to use this. I'm just getting up my reference photo. How are you all, by the way? Who's doing Inktober? Has anybody drawn anything for Inktober? If you have, feel free to pop along to my Facebook profile and share that, or I do have a group, and you're very welcome to pop it on my group as well. Okay, so my mouse, where's the mouse? I've just realised I've still got the gorilla up from yesterday. That's what I drew yesterday, not today. And so in my attempt to set up quickly, I have missed some things out. So what I need to do is download the picture I'm using, which I haven't done yet. I was too busy drawing out gorillas earlier today. That's today's prompt, by the way. I'm drawing a gorilla. So I'm just going on my favourites on Pixabay. I just need to go and pick my little Misky. My mouse to you, by the way. Mouse. I've put all of my Inktober possibles on my favourites on Pixabay, so it's quite easy to pick them out. There you are. Right, so let's download that. Can't believe I haven't downloaded that already. Hello, Janie. Hello, Mareke. Didn't say that right at all. Oh, blah. Free download, come on. My internet is very slow because I'm streaming. That's typical, isn't it? So let me show you yesterday's as well. There. We can just put something on there for you to look at while I'm mucking about with pictures. Save that. How did you find yesterday's, by the way? I was very tired, so it wasn't a great draw for me, but I think it's always good to, you know, to carry on and break through, because you always learn something. I don't know what I learned yet, but I'm sure it'll come to me. So I'm just, I'm uploading, just tell you what I'm doing at the moment, a bit background on how I prepare really. I'm actually uploading the photo I've just downloaded onto a particular folder on my PC so that I can put it onto OBS Studio, which is an open source broadcasting software, hence OBS. And so we are day 9, we're not doing swing, we're doing frail, day 8. Just going to upload that, and then I can change the picture, and then we're ready to go. So an unexpected start today, not prepared at all, but at least you get to know as I talk through it what I'm doing. I'm also going to open up the mouse picture, and I'm just going to look at saturating the image, and this helps me decide what colours to bring out. Right, that's uploaded, so let me sort that out. We'll see the image change in a moment. And yeah, I'm not ready at all. I haven't cropped it, and I need to edit, because what I do is if it's part of a larger image, I just crop the mouse, well, this particular mouse down, and so you can clearly see it's quite small on the main picture. So I'm just resharing this a moment. Day 8 frail. Upload here, great. October, day 8 on my PC. And then you see how I set my page up. There we go. Great. All right, so we're ready. Finally. Oh. Alright, so dry brushes. As always, get rid of the air bubbles. Air bubbles. Always good to wet your brushes. Squidge them on the bottom of your jar of water so that you don't have any popping that goes on that spreads your ink everywhere. And considering ink is permanent, you don't want that. Definitely, you don't want that. Okay, so we're going to do this side first, so the line is down here. I'm going to use my number 4. And I'm going to pop in, not the darkest, I'm going to do the darkest of the mid-tones. Start up on the left corner. So I do want to soften those edges. I'm going to use my bigger brush, number 10. Dry that off, so it's just a damp brush. Yeah, that'll do. So just to remind you, I'm just doing the mid-tones and the darkest of those. So you've got darkest tones, you've got the lightest, and then you've got the mid ones in the middle. So the idea with this is to just to identify, I like to split it into 6. So you've got the lightest of the darks of the darks, and then you've got the lightest and the darks of the mid-tones, and the lightest and the darks of the light tones, the highlights, the slight colours. That way, working only with 6 values. Let's use that one actually. Just going to suck up some of that colour. With a damp brush. Just going to do some of those mid-tones. So I've got a little bit around his around his little face there. This is all good just to give this a little bit of shape. What I'm going to do now, get a damp brush. A bit damper than that actually. Keep cleaning it off because we're just dragging some of that ink from where I just put it down to the outer layers, which as you can see forms a feathering out effect. Just keep cleaning your brush off. There, like so. Got a bit on the back leg here. And again, damp brush. I really do want that to be nice and gradiated. That's really helpful, isn't it? Yeah, there's a bit on the rocky side, that. There we go. That's what you get for working with long brushes. Okay, so I want to water this down actually. It is quite a bit darker than I want it to be. Use a different method today. Just going to drop some in. Hello. Okay. Just darken around these main bits. I think one of the most difficult things when you're doing monotone is getting the difference between shading, so where the light is hitting the subject, and its markings. So for example, what I'm doing right now is shading, but I'm missing out this little bit here because we're now on to the markings of the mouse. And this dark bit here is the markings, whereas this bit under here is the shadow under his chin. So you can see how it can get tricky because your shading might be the same for both. So I'm just going to fill in some of this, oh, that's no good there, is it? Tiny bit there. I want a really weak mix to do the lightest of areas. Glass tables, that's what they're useful for. It's just so I don't lose some of those pencil lines. Just getting a nice clean brush. Put some water on there so that I can just remove that little bit there. Oh, I didn't mean to put that. To keep that white if I can. I'm just going in now with a little bit more just to define some of these edges. Like watercolour, it's always best layered. Alright, so I'm going to bring in some of that light stuff I've just made just at the back there. Great. Let me just catch up on a few comments. Talking amongst yourselves, that's fine. So, colour. Let's have a bit of colour. Well, I think magenta always makes an appearance in nearly every single one of my drawings. Now, do I call these drawings or paintings? Because, you know, ink is drawing, but watercolour is painting. I don't know, what do you think? A bit difficult to know. I definitely want some blue this time, and I'm going to go for some turquoise. That turquoise, just going to start with one drop. Pink, turquoise, yeah, let's go for some orange, or rather some Tangerine. Again, that's made an appearance in all of mine as well. All of the others. Tangerine. Great. What other colours are we going to do? Let's do some yellow. But we're not going to go for the golden yellow this time. We're going to go for yellow. Now, yellow is an interesting one in this collection because it doesn't behave like the others in that it dries with quite a sheen on it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop one of that in there, one drop, and I'm also going to pop a golden yellow. And what I'm hoping this is going to do is just lighten that yellow just a little bit and take the sheen off of the yellow. So we've got magenta, we've got turquoise, we've got tangerine, and we've got a drop of yellow and a drop of golden yellow. And I think let's definitely go for some of the violet. It's always good for the darkest areas. You're either going to go for a really dark blue or a purple for the darkest areas on most pieces. It tends to lend itself quite well to that. So I'm going to come in with this brush. I'm just going to put a couple of drops in each. This is just a different way of delivering water to your inks. You can use a bigger brush if you want more water. Just a bit more. Great. We can always water it down if we need to by adding more water on the paper. So let's have a think about how I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to go for the lights first, which is that yellow. I'm looking at where some of these highlights are, and let's do a little bit on his ear here. Load up the brush. So when you're looking at colorizing a piece, just have a bit of a play. So decide, as I've done, which colors you're going to use for highlights, whether you're going to leave the white of the paper or whether you're going to use a very light colour like I'm using now. To do those lights. And you can also use, a couple of different colours. You don't have to use the same one every time. Just gotta make sure I'm getting the right lines here. So I'm just gonna carry on the top here. So I'm gonna bring in some. Let's bring in some pink magenta to you. Now if you pick two colours that don't mix well together, you might get a muddy mess. Just to be aware of that. So just come in with a damp brush. Softening some of these edges. Okay, now I'm going to come in with some of that tangerine. A little tangerine on the brush. So we've got a white bit here, so I'm going to miss that bit out. As with all art, you usually have a what's called a messy stage. Tangerine. Lots of tangerine. So I'm going over some of these pencil lines, but I'm not going to make some of the same mistakes I made yesterday with the darks. So I'm going to just do the darks last and come in right on the top. So I will lose my pencil lines of where they are, so I will be reliant on a bit of freehanding. I'm just going to quickly come in with some pink. Changing the colours around. When I saturated this little mouse, it didn't really come up with any colours that I really wanted to use. It tended to make it a little bit more, samey. So when that happens, you just got to get a bit more creative. Just pick colours. It'll all turn out okay. Promise. So I'm going to come in now with some of that turquoise. A flash of blue. That's not what I wanted, so. So, to come in with a damp brush. And a bit of magenta. What a nice mixing of those two. Let's just take that off. Got something planned for you. Great mix. Very clean brush. Go back in with some of that blue. A little bit of a highlight on the top of that white section there. Okay, and straight in with that pink before that dries. See what nice colour that makes. What doesn't work is this colour with orange, so we will have to make sure that the orange is dry before we put the blue down. Just going to blend the end out. Just keep cleaning your brush off because it will pick up the colour because it's quite wet still. Okay, let's come in with some yellow. Just want to soak some of that up in the middle. So how I do that is I just get a dry cloth or a tissue, dry the brush off and come back in, and this is a really good way of just bringing some of the paint the ink off to create a highlight before it dries, hopefully. Hi, the doodler. Should I make another video? Can you guys give me... I haven't seen your videos, doodler, but I will certainly have a look. Alright, back in with some of the yellow mix. I'm going to call it a yellow mix because it's two different yellows. I see where I haven't softened the edges here. They take on a little line. So I needed to have softened those really. So that's dried enough now just to pop some of that orange in. It's going to leak in a little bit, but it's not going to muddy that too much. Okay. So I'm going to come in with a bit of the violet, just a little bit. Rinse that off, get a clean, damp brush. Just adding a little bit more colour. Now, because blue and purple go together, I'm just going to bring in some of that turquoise. That'd be fine to use here, just so that I can blend that in a little bit better. Okay. Now I've left that edge blue there because I'm going to come in with some orange here, and I don't want that to contaminate in that. And rinse off, dry off, come in with some magenta. I do know those colours mix particularly well, but I also know that this colour mixes with blue, so I'm going to close that gap up using the pink as a bit of a buffer to that orange, because this mix is fine with orange and the pink mix is fine with blue. So this is a little trick that you can do to transition between two colours that don't particularly play well together. Okay, good. So I'm wanting another colour here. Thinking of a crimson. Let's try it out anyway. Oh, it might be a bit pink that. Look at my reds, it's definitely pink. Let's just use red. Again, that's quite pink. I'm going to then use the bright red. The bright red is a little bit more orange. Okay, just one drop. Some of that in. So now I'm looking at doing at some of the darkest mid-tones. And just get my other brush, blend some of those edges in. And while I'm here, I'm going to add some pigment to this pink. I'm going to put a couple of drops in. Make this a bit brighter. Just figuring out where I've been already and what's dry, what's not. Gonna make that a little bit wet because I want to come back in and blend it. Coming in with that blue, just pop a bit on that end. Don't need any there, don't need any there, it's fine. And want to come back in with that yellow. And some of the orange. Just going to drop this in. Once off, come back in with the yellow. I'm going to come in with that red. I'll just cover all of that. Coming in with the orange, or the tangerine. No, keep calling it orange. And I just want a little bit more pigment in there, so I'm just going to add it in. Couple of drops. Mix that up. Should be nice and strong. So just gone over a little bit. I want to tie it in with this stronger colour. There we go. More tangerine. So while that's still wet, come in with the yellow. And some magenta. Great. I'm going to leave that dry and swap back over to the black. So I want a darker mix of the black, and I shall use the palette for that. One drop. Goes a long way, this stuff. Bit of water. That should give me a nice dark mix. What I'm going to do is use the smaller brush. Dry my brush off. This is not going to dry as dark as it looks. I'm just going to get the weaker mix and just use that weaker mix to blend the edges. So we've got a bit of a bleed from the other side. See if we can't stop that a minute. So let me do a bit of a repair. Oops, sorry about that, folks. There we go. One colour. And a bit of a weaker mix there, actually. Right, where was I? Yeah, the easiest way to do this is probably to get the hairdryer on it. Just put my brush in the darker one, just a tad. Definitely the darker one. I'm just doing some layering. Just need a damp brush. Just use that bigger one. Just pop a bit of colour in here. So I'm going to dry that brush right off. Just going to take out a bit of colour in the middle here. I've got a tissue that I'm doing that with. Go back to that weaker mix. So, just going to bring in that really dark mix and just pop some in there. Now that this is semi-dry, damp brush. Too damp. What happens is the wooden barrel drops the water down onto the brush after you've dried it. Well, that brush is too small. Sometimes it doesn't hold enough water. Just have some of this lighter mix. Ooh. I don't really want that much. So, you can see I've actually splashed a bit of water over the side and it has what's called a cauliflower effect. Not ideal, but it'll be fine. Sorry folks, just having a slurp on my breakfast. I wasn't happy with this bit, it had a bit of a hard edge. Okay. So what to do his muzzle. Trying not to smudge this side too much. Damp brush. Some of the weak Maker Mix. Damp brush, thicker brush. Without doing a cauliflower. Oh, we're coming on. So I just need to darken this little area here. Keep forgetting my meshes there. Damp brush, just blend this in. Dilute it down again. Great. And just keep layering, keep going back and forth with the values. So darks, lights, mediums. Just taking out some of that colour there. Now that it's dried a bit. There we go. I do want to put a very, very weak mix, so it's not white, just in this area here. And now I want some pure pigment of the black. So excuse my arm across, it's just the way I've got things set up at the moment. I want my very thin brush to dry it right off. Get plenty of pigment on there, wipe it off so it doesn't drip. I'm just going to drop a bit around here. While that's still wet, because it will bleed outwards. That's fine. Just very carefully do this eye. It's not like wielding a colour pencil, I can tell you. Let's clean that off. I don't want a soft edge, but I have gone over a little bit here. That's fine. Okay. So over to the other side. Let's have a little look what I need. I've got about 7 minutes left and I've got to work. I will do my best to get this finished in that time. I don't want orange, I want red. There we go. Just damp brush. So I'm going to get that red, bright red. Start using some pure pigments on the end just to darken this edge up. No. And in there I am going to pop a little bit of the violet. A dry brush now just to tease that out. Again, a bit more of that bright red. Soften these edges very quickly before it dries. I'm just going to swap the black a sec because I want to even these up a bit Oh, that didn't work, did it? Oh. Yes. Bit overzealous there. It's a bit of continuity. Oh no, let's not swap to orange just yet. I'm probably going to have to finish this off either away from the live draw or set up a new live draw later on, and maybe, you know, go straight into the next one, because I've got to work. So I'm going to leave this here. Hopefully you'll join me on the next one. I will inform you, pop it on my page. Otherwise, this one will have to stay as it is. So Inktober, day 8, and this is Frail. And it's the link to testing on mice, particularly the research around fragility in the human condition being tested and researched on mice. A very, very well-known study. And yeah, poor little mice, they get the worst of the treatment. They get all sorts in labs. They're not often classed as animals, so they don't have to declare them. Yeah, anyway, there's a lot of information. I will post some up. So thank you ever so much for joining me, and I will catch you to finish this one off a little bit later on. Okay, see you then. Bye for now.